Welcome to the series of Apache Kafka tutorial with Node.js. In this series, I will introduce Apache Kafka and show you how to build data pipelines with it. We will set up Kafka using Docker. We will use the command line tools to publish and consume data. Finally, we will build Apache Kafka clients using Node.js. So let's get started. We are going to set up a Kafka broker in Docker. If you are using either Linux or Windows, please install the Docker desktop from the Docker websites. You can check my video to install Docker on Windows. So basically, we will set up a single Kafka container and set up Kafdrop, a web-based UI tool for monitoring Apache Kafka clusters. So you can see the images, the single node Kafka brokers, which contains the two topics. We will create these two topics and we will create the three producers. Two producers will connect to the topic 1 and the consumer 1, which will connect it to the topic 1 and also the consumer 2 also. So we will see in the later. So we will see all the things. We will learn about the broker, topic, consumer, producers, all the things. So keep watching. So here is the Docker Compose YML file, which contains the Docker Compose configuration for the single Kafka container and the Kafdrop. Here the Kafdrop. So this Docker Compose file, the Kafka single node.yml, I will share with you. We will get the link in the description. So if I come to the explanation of this Docker Compose file, we have the Kafka services. You can see. Which is from the Bitnami. We will be using the Kafka version 3.4. This is the Docker image. We will be exposing two ports in Kafka. One is the 29092. Will be used for other Docker containers to communicate with this container. This port should only be used when the client is another Docker container. A second port is 9092. Will be used when accessing Kafka from the host system. We are enabling KRAP, which is the newer configuration management option in Kafka using the parameters. Here I enable the Kafka enable KRAP yes. We set to allow plaintext listener in this installation. This is recommended only for the development setup. Next, the Kafka node ID is 1 for this broker. So this should be unique within the cluster. Next is the Kafka CFG process roles. Each Kafka nodes can perform two roles, namely broker and controller. Being a single node system, we will choose both. Next is the naming the controller listener is the controller and the interbroker listener is the client. Next is the defines listeners and their ports. Listener configuration lists the ports on which Kafka broker will listen. The client listener shows on the port on which the broker listens for internal communication within the Docker environment. The external listener listens for communication outside the Docker environment. The controller listens on the port 9093. Next is the security protocol. The security protocol is set as plain text for all the listeners. So this is recommended only for learning and development environments. Next, we have the advertise listeners. So the advertised listener are those that allow clients to connect Kafka. We only expose the client and external, but not the controller. The controller quorum voters identifies all the brokers that performs the role of a controller in a cluster. As the cluster has only one node that behaves as a controller, we list its ID and its IP address and the port. Finally, the port 9092 is exposed outside the Docker environment for external clients to connect. Next, we have the Kafdrop services. So it specifies the latest Docker image to use for the Kafdrop, and it's use the networks attach the Kafdrop service to the broker Kafka network, allowing it to communicate with the other services connected to the same network. You can see the Kafka also connected to this broker Kafka network, and here is the definition of the Kafka network, which defines a custom bridge networks named the broker Kafka. X it depends on Kafka, indicates that the Kafka service depends on the Kafka service. This ensures that the Kafka starts after the Kafka service is up and running. Next, we have the port mapping. So it maps port 9000 from the Kafdrop container to port 19000 on the host machine, allowing access to Kafdrop UI via the HTTP localhost 19000. Next, the environment is the Kafka broker connect on the Kafka 29092. Sets the environment variables. This variable specifies the Kafka broker's connections details that Kafdrop will use to connect to Kafka. It tells Kafdrop to connect to the Kafka broker named Kafka on port 29092. Next, the volumes defines a named volume named the Kafka data that will be used by Kafka for data persistence. It will be created and managed by the local Docker environment. Named volume like the Kafka data can be attached to the Docker container to store Kafka data such as logs, state information or other data generated or used by the Kafka services. Using volumes ensures that the data stored within the volume persists even if the Kafka container is stopped, removed or replaced. It enables separation of the concerns between the application logic and the data it uses. So let's start the container now. So I will open the terminal and I will execute the Docker Compose file. The Docker Compose file is the Kafka single node.yml, and the command would be the Docker Compose -a file name up -d. So this command will basically download the images if they are not already on your local Docker and then proceeds to start the containers. So if I open my Docker desktop, I already installed Docker. So if I open the Docker desktop, here you can see I don't have any containers running right now and don't have any images. So I will start this and it will download the images and it will run. It will take some time. So you can see it's created all the brokers and the bridge networks and Kafdrop. If now go to the Docker, you can see here is the inside the Kafka tutorial. I have the Kafdrop image and the Kafka broker. Sorry, not image. This is the container, running container. And if I only show the running containers, you can see the Kafdrop and the Kafka broker. Now I will try to access the Kafdrop in the localhost 19000 port. So you can see the Kafdrop UI here, the Kafka cluster overview. So we don't have any topics yet, and we have the broker, one broker. We can also check the up and running container by using the command line. So I will open the terminal and I will execute the command docker ps. It will list all the up and running container. So you can see we have the Kafdrop and we have the Bitnami Kafka, which is up 3 minutes ago. So that's all for this video. In this video, we created this single node Kafka broker. So in the next video, we will create the topic. We will produce some messages in those topics and we will consume those messages. Okay, so if you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe to my channel and share the video. We will meet in the next video. Thank you.